𝐂𝐨𝐬's parents met 𝐌𝐚's parents with warm smiles on their faces as they greeted her parents like old friends. They were simply happy to meet her family and appeared understanding and supportive, which put �W𝐚 a little more at ease. She was fond of her little nephew and her parents were overjoyed when they found out she had no ill feelings towards her nephew despite everything her sister had done. �W𝐚 wanted to take in her nephew, but she was reluctant. Her mom told her to talk to 𝐂𝐤 first. He might have some reservations as he is 𝐿eo's son after all. �W𝐚 felt a surge of anxiety at the thought. She knew 𝐂𝐤 could be unpredictable and she was worried he might not want to take in 𝐿eo's child. But when she brought it up to him, he was happy with her decision and supported her. Now �W𝐚 had just finished feeding the 4-month-old baby, who was fast asleep in their shared bedroom. 𝐂𝐤 lay on the bed beside the little boy, staring at him with an expression of pure wonder. �W𝐚 leaned against the doorway, her heart warming at the sight. "What are you thinking?" 𝐂𝐤 turned his head slightly to glance at her. "Do babies always sleep this much? I'm waiting for him to wake up," he said with a grin. �W𝐚 rolled her eyes playfully as she walked over to the bed. "Yes, 𝐂𝐤, babies need a lot of sleep. Why are you asking such silly questions?" she replied with a hint of exasperation. 𝐂𝐤 turned his full attention back to Wraith, his eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "I'm just trying to figure out how this whole baby thing works. I mean, look at him, so small. How do they even function?" �W𝐚 laughed softly, sitting on the edge of the bed beside him. "Well, they function just fine. They eat, sleep, and cry. That's pretty much their job at this age." 𝐂𝐤's brow furrowed slightly. "And how do you know if they're hungry or sleepy? What if they're crying because it's itching somewhere and they want us to scratch it?" �W𝐚 laughed softly, shaking her head. "You just know, you'll get the hang of it," she replied with a smile, enjoying his cluelessness. He glanced up at her with a small, mischievous grin. "Does that mean you're going to teach me how to be a dad? I'll be a good dad to Wraith and our football team." �W𝐚's cheeks flushed. She blinked several times. "Football team?" He nodded with a grin and kissed Wraith on the cheek before sitting straight. "Yep, we'll have a whole football team. When Wraith grows a little, I'll tell him to insist you for having more babies. This way we'll have a bunch to play together," he said with a wink. �W𝐚 shook her head with a smile. "Dream on." His smile widened and turned his gaze back to Wraith. "He's got your eyes, you know." She blinked in surprise. "What?" "No, I don't think so." 𝐂𝐤 chuckled. "He looks like you. Same cute nose, same serious little expression." �W𝐚 rolled her eyes again, this time in mock annoyance. "Are you saying I look like a baby?" "Maybe you're a cute baby," 𝐂𝐤 teased, his grin growing. �W𝐚 reached out and slightly smacked his shoulder. "Stop it," she said playfully. 𝐂𝐤 laughed, a low warm sound that sent a shiver down �W�'s spine. He shifted closer, his hand reaching out to gently tuck a stray strand of hair behind her ear. "You know, seeing you like this with a baby, it suits you." Her heart skipped a beat, her breath catching in her throat. "Does it?" she asked softly, her eyes searching his. 𝐂𝐤 nodded, his gaze intense and sincere. "It does. That's why I think we should start making our team. That way Wraith wouldn't feel lonely. You must cooperate." He winked at her. �W�'s eyes widened and she smacked his arm again, harder this time. "𝐂𝐤," she scolded, though a smile tugged at her lips. He laughed, clearly enjoying teasing her. "What?" he asked innocently. �W� shook her head, but her smile never wavered. "You're impossible," she muttered. "But you love me anyway," 𝐂𝐤 countered, his voice warm and teasing. �W� felt her heart swell in her chest, and she leaned in closer, her lips brushing against his ear as she whispered, "Maybe I do." 𝐂𝐤 smiled, turning his head and capturing her lips in a soft, lingering kiss. �W� melted into him, her hands sliding up his chest as he deepened the kiss, his fingers tangling in her hair. Time skip. It's been over 10 months since little Wraith had come into their lives, and the house had filled with joy and laughter ever since. 𝐂𝐤's parents doted on him like their own grandchild, but the bond between 𝐂𝐤 and Wraith was something special, a connection that had deepened over time into something beautiful. 𝐿 had grown so attached to Rai that he couldn't imagine spending a single day without him. But recently Wayne had noticed 𝐿 seemed quieter, more distant, and often lost in thought. Now she approached their bedroom, pushing the door open quietly. Her heart melted at the sight before her. 𝐿 was sitting on the bed, cradling Rai against his chest. The little boy lay peacefully, his tiny hand gripping 𝐿's shirt, and 𝐿 was whispering softly to him, his voice tender and soothing. "Sleep well, little one. Papa's always here," he murmured, brushing his fingers gently through the child's soft hair. Wayne felt a rush of affection for both of them and stepped into the room with a soft smile. She leaned down, pressing a gentle kiss to Rai's cheek. 𝐿 looked up, catching her gaze, and pouted playfully. "What about me?" he teased, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Wayne chuckled and turned to Rai, who seemed to understand what was happening. The boy leaned forward, planting a wet strawberry kiss on Wayne's cheek. She laughed, wiping her cheek, and leaned down to kiss 𝐿, her lips brushing his softly. 𝐿 smiled against her lips, pressing a quick kiss back. "Better?" she asked, a grin playing on her lips. 𝐿 noted, his eyes filled with warmth. "Much better," he whispered, his voice low and affectionate. Once Rai was asleep, 𝐿 carefully laid him down in his crib, making sure the baby was comfortable before turning back to Wayne, who was standing behind him. He noticed the contemplative look on her face and took her hand, pulling her closer. "What's on your mind, sweetheart?" he asked softly. She bit her lip, feeling a surge of excitement and nervousness. "I have something to tell you." He gestured for her to speak up. His grip on her hand tightened a little. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. "I'm pregnant," she revealed. Her voice trembled with a mix of joy and fear. 𝐿 blinked, stunned, his eyes widening in disbelief. You are pregnant," he repeated as if trying to process the words. Wayne nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. For a moment 𝐿 was silent, his expression unreadable. Then slowly, a smile spread across his face, and he pulled her into a tight hug, lifting her off the ground slightly. "We are having a baby?" he asked again, his voice filled with happiness. Wayne laughed, her heart soaring. "Yes, we are," she confirmed, wrapping her arms around his neck. 𝐿 let out a joyful laugh, spinning her around before setting her down gently. "Thank you so much for giving me such happiness, Wayne." He kissed her forehead and pressed his forehead against hers. His expression changed, a hint of worry creeping into his eyes. "But what about Rai? What if I become selfish and neglect him unknowingly when our baby comes?" Wayne's heart ached at the genuine concern in his voice. She reached up, cupping his face in her hands. "𝐿, you would never do that. You have so much love to give, and I know you will be an amazing father to both of them," she assured him softly. 𝐿's face softened, but the worry didn't entirely fade. He hesitated before speaking again, his voice breaking slightly. "Wayne, what if your sister gets better and demands Rai back? I can't let him go. I can't live without him." Tears glistened in his eyes. This was not the bubbly 𝐿 she knew. Her heart clenched at the sight of him, so broken, so vulnerable. She had never seen him like this, and it shattered her. She gently pulled him into her arms, holding him tightly. "I'm sorry, 𝐿. I should have thought of it before taking him in. I didn't mean to put you in this position." 𝐿 shook his head, burying his face in her neck. "No, it's not your fault. I'm just scared. I don't want to lose him." She stroked his hair soothingly, her heart aching for him. "We can try to talk to her if she does," she murmured softly. 𝐿 pulled back slightly, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "You think she'll take him away?" His voice barely audible. Wayne sighed, her heart heavy. "I don't know, but whatever happens, we'll face it together." 𝐿 nodded, his arms tightening around her. "I don't want to lose him," he whispered again, his voice breaking. Wayne felt tears prick her own eyes, and she leaned up, pressing a soft kiss to his lips. "I'll try my best that we don't lose him." He kissed her back, the kiss filled with desperation and longing, his hands tangling in her hair as he pulled her closer. "I love you," he mumbled against her lips, his voice filled with emotion. Wan smiled against his mouth, her heart swelling with love. I love you too, she whispered back, holding him tightly. Few months later, the day had arrived and Wan was in labor. It was a day filled with intense emotions and anticipation. A month ago, her sister had taken Raid away, leaving a void in their lives. The separation had deeply affected him, and Wan had never seen him cry so much. It was only through their shared support and love that they managed to hold on to each other. Though Wan lay in the hospital bed, exhausted but exhilarated, Ken stood beside her. He looked at their newborn baby girl with a tenderness that spoke volumes. Gently he kissed her tiny forehead and then leaned over to kiss Wan's forehead. Thank you, Wan. She's perfect, he whispered to her, his voice choked with emotion. Wan smiled weakly, her heart overflowing with love and gratitude. She's finally here. She spoke with teary eyes as Them lay the baby back in the crib and sat beside her, holding her hand. Raid, I miss him so much. Nothing can fill his place. She choked. Them pulled her into his arms. He pursed his lips, not knowing what to say. His condition was no different from her. The door to the room was flung open with a force that made them both jump. The familiar tiny voice that had been so sorely missed echoed through the room. Baba, Mama. Them's eyes widened in shock as he turned around. There, running towards him with outstretched arms and a joyful face, was Raid. Tears of surprise and joy streamed down Them's face as he scooped Raid in his arms, holding him tightly against his chest. Raid, he choked out, his voice trembling with emotion. Wan, overwhelmed by the sight, felt her own tears flow freely. Raid pulled out and wiped Them's face with his small hands and smiled, making him smile. He then hugged Wan. Mama. His voice filled with happiness. He gently wiped her tears with his small hands, pressing a tender kiss to her cheek. Them let out a sigh of relief and sat on the edge of the bed beside them, watching them tenderly. When Raid's eyes landed on the crib, his eyes lighting up at the sight of his baby sister. With wide eyes, he peered at the little girl and then turned back to Wan and Them, a big grin spreading across his face. Sister, he exclaimed, his excitement evident. At that moment, Wan's parents entered the room, their expressions a mix of relief and sadness. Kara couldn't take care of him. She sent him back and asked us to look after him. She realized she wasn't able to be the parent he needed, and Wan, she asked for your forgiveness. Wan smiled, pulling him close. For the sake of Raid, I forgive her. They smiled while Them picked up the baby girl, showing her to Raid. Sister, he said and kissed her cheek, making everyone smile. Them pulled him into his embrace and kissed his forehead. Wan took the baby girl from him while Them pulled her into his embrace. The three of them held each other tightly.